Hi guys, it's Unders. Today we are up to F on our A through Z of mixing plugins. If you like these videos, if they're helpful for you, please pop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. It helps me out massively in creating more content for you guys. So today for F we are looking at cable guys, Filtershaper 3. Now what Filtershaper 3 is a very complex filter plugin. It allows many different curves and slope types, and it allows a very complex set of automation. I'm going to give a really brief overview of what we can do with it, but we can look deeper at it in the future. So I've just got a little track I'm working on here. This is just on the bass line of that track here. So if we just play it, I'll solo the bass that we can hear, and then we're going to engage it so we can hear what it's doing. Line just there, the really horrible resound we've got going on. If we engage Filtershaper, you're going to hear it do the pan in sweep, which is the default preset. Okay, so how this effectively works is you've got filter 1 on the left, filter 2 on the right. Those settings are then pretty much mirrored depending on what profile or slope you're choosing here. You then get some slightly different settings in terms of drive, resonance, and distortion as well. So the clean ones, for example, don't have like distortion, but you can drive them. If we then look at the SK ones, like the low pass and notches that we've got in the second section here, we're able to apply distortion and things to those as well, and we can choose the distortion types. Now what's key, the big knob here is the cutoff, and we can see the frequency that is cut off to. There's also a little chain here. If we click that, it will link it with filter 2, which can be a separate filter type with separate settings. There's a little orange area here, just where the mouse is going and where roughly this is pointing at the moment. And when you highlight this, that corresponds to this down here, which will say filter cutoff LFO1, for example. This here, which is then your oscillator for that filter, you completely can create your own oscillators to almost any degree that you wish within this area, and that will then be affecting how this filter responds. You can sync it over time or sync it to hertz, have it so it re-triggers per hit, have it so it's re-triggered with MIDI as well. However you like, you then can do the intensity to a percentage. That percentage then affects how far this moves from the point it is at. So 25% would see it moving 25% either direction. If we put it to 100, obviously it's going to do the full cycle across the spectrum there. We just put it back on around the 25 marker. And now we can hear how that has changed. Now you can see on here that there's a white line, and that is the representation of where the filter is moving. We put something a little harsher on, say a 24 dB high pass. And if we slow it down, now when you're adjusting the curve on here, by default when you click you get these hollow points, and they give quite a natural curve and quite a smooth sound. If you then right click them, it goes to more of an accurate point, and you can make those really quite harsh movements. Now where this starts to get even more powerful, if we now select the resonance, we can select that, and that can have its own oscillator, and you can create that in its own form of oscillation as well, which can also be synced differently. So we can have that synced to 1 bar, whereas the cutoff itself is synced over 4 bars. obviously got the option to pan. This has been just pan so it's rapid left and right. We can make that so it is considerably quicker. It allows for all kinds of creativity and sound design as well as mix decisions. Now I will quite often use this just to filter sounds out really gradually but over a period of time. So I may set it to something like 4 bars, have this so it is going to be a low pass, and we'll just default this. We'll just have it so it really gradually brings the sound out over a 4 bar period. So it just go like this, and just really gradually fade out, and then it bring it back in, and it just adds sort of an ebb and flow to the track, and we can just have that going over the bass line and just slowly filtering down. Just adds an extra dynamic without affecting the sound massively. You can obviously do it with really, really gentle slopes as well. That's something you can do as a mix decision in your music, just to affect the ebbs and flows of how it's going. Like when you're making electronic music, sometimes everything will end up at the loudest volume, solid, and this can just be a nice way to introduce something, especially if you're mixing someone else's work. You can add this in, they will hear it, perhaps not even understand how you've done it, but generally it'll add a dynamic to the track that didn't exist before. I find it really useful for that. But you can go crazy with it and do all kinds of insane sound design. One other thing to note is you've got this parallel and serial section here. That means serial flows one filter into the other. Parallel means they are both working at the same time on the audio. If you've used Massive, it's the same principles that, and how you can set the filters up in that respect, just with the slider option. Well guys, that is Filtershaper 3. If we want to go really deep into this, leave a comment on the video and we will look at doing that in the future. So thank you very much for your time. See you on the next one.